They made a real working Pokedex. Let's go chat.
This is the Pokedex you wanted when you were a kid. A fully functional dex that looks just like the one in the show.
Can I just start? Oh god, first of all, as a kid, it was great because because technology hadn't caught up to where you could have like perfect, resolution screens at the time that the show came out with the Pokedex in the show. So even though it was like a cheap LCD screen, and he's going to show, I think, a version of the original one back in the day from the early 2000s. But like this was in our imagination when we used the LCD versions.
A high resolution screen.
Like that looks crazy.
That screens.
Screens. So many. What are these? Oh, the types? That's cool. These buttons?
That can not only show you the complete Pokedex entries for all your favorite Pokemon, but also identify them by taking photos in the real world. And this is the actual Pokedex you might have had when you were a kid. To be fair, this is the first Pokedex you could ever get in America.
Are they selling this? I don't think so. I think, so here's the original. And it was just basically like an LCD screen. See, from 1999. It's crazy. Throwback. It's crazy how this is so old now. But when you're a kid and the technology doesn't exist, like, you think back, what are screens in 1999? They are like an LCD, cheapo screen. There was no high resolution, perfect looking screen. So as a kid, you're just going off of your imagination. You're thinking about the show. You're thinking about running around like in the wild, catching Pokemon like Pikachu, and then collecting them on your Pokedex. And it was okay because the technology wasn't there yet. But now that it is, people are going back and going like, ooh, let's try and create what we imagined was possible. And so I'm excited already. And yeah, this does look crazy.
Way back in 1990.
Looking back in the 90s, that's crazy to think that this was in the 90s.
This Tiger Electronics toy may not seem all that impressive today, but when I was a kid, I wanted one so bad. I still want the closest thing to a real Pokedex possible, but my dopamine-exhausted millennial brain needs at least 10 times the stimulation to feel anything these days. Buying this vintage toy wasn't enough to spark joy. So if I really want it, I'm gonna have to do it myself. And by myself, I mean with a friend. I need to collaborate with a real Pokemaniac. Someone not only deeply obsessed with Pokemon and committed to his Poke craft, but also someone who actually enjoys and is skilled at writing code. Okay. There's only one guy with 2 thumbs and a lab coat who's right for the job. Who's that YouTuber? This video is brought to you by PCBWay. It's Big Rig Creates! If you don't already know Matt, aka Big Rig Creates, he's a talented creator who's made dozens of videos bringing the Pokemon world to life.
That's cool.
And he's the code wizard
I want
who wrote
that.
all the software for this Pokedex. So you should watch his video after this one. Right now...
Okay, so this guy made the software, and I imagine the guy narrating is going to make the hardware.
I'm going to show you how I designed the physical dex.
Yes, there we go.
There's just a small problem. We don't know how the Pokedex works. That might sound crazy, but I'm specifically referring to the classic Kanto Pokedex that Ash uses in the Indigo League series. You might think that across dozens of episodes, we see all of the features of the Pokedex, but it turns out animating hands is hard and expensive. So 99% of the time, the only thing the Pokedex does is ding, show a plain picture of a Pokemon, and tell Ash that he's stupid or something. If I get anything wrong, be sure to leave an incredibly detailed comment down below.
Will do.
The real question is, how do we go from this, just an idea on a piece of paper, to this, a real physical device?
The way I see it, we've got 4 lights, 5 screens, and 22 buttons. Not to mention the implied microphone, speaker, and camera somewhere, and battery, processor, the case itself. It's a complicated gadget. There's a reason why the toy only has a single functional side and an itty-bitty monochrome LCD.
But we live in the distant future of insert current year here, and
True.
making bespoke electronic devices has never been easier. So let's talk about all the physical features of the Pokedex and how I brought them to life. The main screen is where all the action happens. We need it to not only display Pokemon and act as a viewfinder for the camera, but to be the primary user interface for the Pokedex. So I went ahead and chose this 2.8-inch LCD which has a resolution of 640 by 480, aka VGA, which is that perfect 4:3 aspect ratio that all the kids crave these days.
Yes.
And I think that is
Me
fitting
included.
for a device that was designed in the 90s. Now, this is a DSI display, which means it's actually plugged in via a ribbon cable directly into the Raspberry Pi compute module, and that's tucked inside the Pi.
Now, there's no clear answer as to what
of
this
course,
mysterious
of course.
rounded rectangle below the main display is, but I have an obsession with small screens, so I made this a small screen too. In my Dex, it's actually a full-on ESP32 with an LCD that has a resolution of 320 by 172, which I point
Whoa,
out because I find
cool.
it funny that this mini display dev board has more pixels and processing power than a Game Boy Advance. This little lad shows the current Wi-Fi connection, battery
Oh, how times have changed.
level, and game setting, because each game has its own distinct Pokedex entries. You can swap between game versions to read your favorite entry. Now there's a few more would-be displays on the right side of the Dex, so I picked out some crispy white OLEDs. These have just enough pixels to showcase the text entries and type data of a Pokemon. If an
cool.
entry is too long, you can flip between pages with the white buttons down below. Now next to Dexter's blue eye, the OG Pokedex also has 3 red, yellow, and green pips. I can't recall them ever actually lighting up, but these reminded me of regular 5mm LEDs. So that's what I used. To put them
Okay.
to use, we decided they would be a great battery level indicator.
I was gonna
That a pretty
suggest that.
simple
I was
feature
gonna
to
say
figure
that.
out, but Dexter's eye is a bit bigger, so it needs a little more work. It's also just a blue LED inside, but to make it the exact shape, I've glued it into a clear 3D printed resin lens to diffuse it and match the model. And whenever
Ooh.
Dexter speaks, the eye modulates based on the audio levels.
That's so cool. Wait, it's coming together. Wait.
Senses danger, it will teleport itself to safety even as it sleeps.
That's so cool. That's really cool.
The Pokedex has keypads with plenty of buttons on both halves of the case, and I've designed all of the buttons to use the same extra clicky tactile switch. To keep everything tidy, I designed 2 custom PCBs
I like
for each
tactile
side. One for the main
buttons.
half with the D-pad,
Bring
and a
them
larger
back.
PCB for the side.
No
with
more
the built-in
touch
Raspberry
screens.
Pi
I wanna
Pico.
click.
I don't have a custom PCB factory in my garage,
I need to
although I
stim.
do have PCBWay. And so do you. PCBWay can manufacture custom PCBs as simple as 2 layers all the way up to 14 and more.
I bought 10 of them.
There's a lot of buttons, so I'm not going to run through them all, but you can pause now to learn their secrets.
Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Enter, cancel, tab, D-pad, left, right, volume, mute. Okay, cool. And these are... I don't know what those do. Interesting.
Their secrets. At the end of the day, the Pokedex
I am.
is
I'm
just
ready to
another
buy
mobile
it.
computer. So we spec'd
I'm the... What is the... Take my money from Futurama Fry.
out a Raspberry
That's
Pi
me.
Compute Module 4 with Wi-Fi, 4 gigs of RAM, and 16 gigs of eMMC for storage. The Pi is connected to the main display and camera via a breakout board, but it can't control everything. Since the ESP32 powered display
I bet if he put this up for sale, like his version, like 1.0, just the one, if he put that on auction or something, I bet it would be like, because there's some Pokemon fans out there. Easy, I'm going to say easy, low end 5K, 10K, I would say is like, that would sell within a week, I feel like, if you put it up for 10K or something. Because there's some dedicated fans out there that want this,
closer to the buttons.
including me.
They're all wired directly
I'm not paying that much, though. That's crazy, but I could see it.
to that board, and the ESP32 just shares which button is pressed and passes it along to the Pi. But what about controlling the side case? In order to keep wiring as simple as possible, there's just 4 wires for power and data running from the main case to the side. There's a hole in the top left of the case that lines up with the hinge, and a small cutout in the upper right of the case for the wires to feed through. This
Yeah, that boy's looking chunky, I have to say.
way the wires can rotate freely without getting pinched. The side case itself is controlled by a Raspberry Pi Pico. It can handle talking to all 3 displays while also reading all of the buttons. The Pokedex needs some way to play audio because we need the iconic ding and voice of Dexter, and I want
And you know what's funny is, like, you almost have to make it with bad audio. It would sound weird if it was clear audio.
I want it to be loud, so I tucked a 3-watt speaker and amp inside the case. This little grill isn't going to cut it for audio, so I designed an open slot hidden beneath the hinge. But don't worry, that little grill below the screen isn't wasted. In my version, that's actually where the microphone goes. You might have noticed there's a lot going on inside this device. You need a lot of juice to power it up. For the battery, I'm using a protected single-cell LiPo. That gets boosted to 5 volts by the Amp Ripper 4000, which gives us plenty of current headroom for all the components. I can switch the decks on and off via the slide switch that's built into the board. It's a bit too small and delicate, so I made a chunky finger-friendly cover.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is above my level of knowledge. Just one level above my knowledge on electronics. Yeah, okay. Yep, main shell upper. Yep, that's the shell that... All right, anyways.
For it. I also added a 3D printed light pipe so that when I plug it in via the built-in USB-C port at the bottom, I can see that everything is charging nicely.
You guys remember when the Apple, what was it, the huge goggles came out, and there was that video of the dude like was on the subway for the first time, like typing like. Imagine someone pulls this thing out and they're just like randomly scanning like someone's Pokemon cards or something at a convention. That would be hilarious. That'd be crazy.
The Dex has a lot of fiddly bits and fine details that are tricky to make without a 3D printer. I made the model in Fusion and split it into pieces, mostly based around color for easier painting and assembly.
That boy is chunky. But it makes sense though.
I designed the main components to be printed out of resin
Version
on my
1.0
Form 4 3D printer. This is an SLA printer that cures liquid resin layer by layer with UV light. The parts get a quick wash in an isopropyl alcohol bath before moving over to the UV curing oven for a final bake. Never get tired of watching SLA resin parts cure, it's so deeply satisfying. Once I've baked all the parts, I can give them a solid look over. I printed most of the parts out of standard black resin. All of these parts need to have their Art Deco scaffolding removed before I can see if they printed properly, and I didn't
Art
forget any
Deco
details.
scaffolding.
As with most of my designs, the models came out right the first time, and there weren't any design flaws.
You made sure X print Nazgul figurines. Well, first of all, having a Nazgul figurine sounds amazing. Sounds so cool. But that is pretty funny.
Yet pretty toasty. So I designed the rear case to be machined out of some aluminum plate I had lying around. I wanted to keep things nice and compact, so that meant machining pockets for the Pi and camera. In order to turn this plate into a finished part, I have to create tool paths that tell the machine exactly how to move so that my desktop CNC knows how to move safely. One small mistake in the toolpath programming and the part could be ruined. Let's watch it in action.
Epic 3D printer shot. Oof.
Thankfully, I managed to only break one end mill while machining. It's not like I left a tiny carbide shard that I didn't notice, causing me to break an M2 tap in the exact same hole later on. That would be maddening. Actually, everything turned out all right.
Good thing that didn't happen.
I was able to save the part, and once I sanded it down and coated it with some spray paint, all my crimes were hidden, which I feel like is par for the course. Now with this part complete, there's only one thing left to do, and that's turn the Pokedex on. And here it is, the final Pokedex in all its glory.
That looks really cool. I mean, I know it's chunky, but that's pretty cool. And you know, with it being kind of big, it kind of fits the aesthetic of 2000s technology back in the day, because everything was kind of big. You know, you think back to, I don't think he'll compare it, but if you compare this to the original Game Boy, like the gray chonker, I bet they're pretty similar in size, if I had to guess.
Can't begin to describe how exciting it is to finally be able to hold this thing in my hands.
Cool.
I've wanted it for decades. Granted, it is a little bit bigger than the original toy, but
a little bit bigger. Okay, so maybe it is bigger than a original Game Boy. But still, I mean, it kind of fits the aesthetic.
think that's pretty fair given that this is a real functional Pokedex.
Yeah, it does real
it's
things.
Something I can touch and use in the real world. Like, look, I can take a photo of a Bulbasaur.
That's cool.
Bulbasaur, PC Pokemon. It can go for days without eating a single morsel.
I wonder how accurate it is. I wonder if it has to capture it like on the card every time, or if it doesn't matter. I know, it's crazy. That is cool. Even if it's just for the cards, that's pretty cool.
Evolved on its back.
Like, I wonder if you can take a photo of like a terribly made plush of Bulbasaur and it'll show you.
It stores energy.
But we can also ask it about moves. So let's go back to ask. Ask, when does Blastoise learn Hydro Pump?
Blastoise can learn Hydro Pump by level 52 in Pokemon Yellow.
Level 52? That's a long time.
It's perfect.
That's cool.
It's perfect. All right, so the Pokedex isn't actually perfect, but I think it's pretty good. Honestly, I can't get over how satisfying it is to hold and interact with this thing. It is so much fun, and it really feels like my childhood come to life. And I hope it gave you that feeling too. And if so, be sure to subscribe to see more fictional technology like this come to life. And if you want to learn more about the Pokedex, you should watch Matt's video right here. Thanks again for watching. See you guys in the next one.
Sick. Awesome.